small town of Gorkha in western Nepal has given its name to the soldiers of the famous Gorkha regiments. Nepal is a long, narrow land of rugged hills stretching more than 500 miles between India and Tibet. Until a few years ago, it was closed to all foreign travelers, and even today, many of its people have never seen Europeans. Last year, an expedition led by Professor Heimendorf, an anthropologist of London University, set out to study the inhabitants of some of the remoter parts of Nepal and to visit the Gorkha soldiers in their villages. He and his wife were the only two Europeans in the party. There are no roads as we know them, no railways. Everything needed for months of marching has to be carried on the backs of porters. For days on end, the track winds through terraced rice fields, dry and parched during the early months of the year. Gorkha, once the capital of the hill chiefs who later became kings of Nepal, is today a sleepy little place. The worship of gods in the pagoda-like temples and the people's life in their homes has seen little change for hundreds of years. Old women spin as their grandmothers did. And one of the few mechanical contrivances is a tilt hammer for pounding grain. Only the large red brick palace of Gorkha, now mouldering away, recalls the glory of past ages. Its delicately carved wooden windows are the work of craftsmen who were attracted by the royal court. They have long since vanished, but Gorkha soldiers in the black uniforms of the Nepal militia guard the ancient palace. And the clerks occupying its chilly rooms often move their desks and files into the warm sun. A soldier on leave from a British regiment watches them. For him, there's little else to do in a place where the women are busy with their housework and washing clothes in an open well. And the men have to go to their fields carrying on their shoulders not a rifle, but a wooden plough. The Gurung tribesmen who fill the ranks of so many Gorkha regiments are sturdy farmers. In a land devoid of level ground, they score terraced fields out of these steep hill slopes and work the stony ground with their light wooden plough. On the higher terraces, they grow summer crops of millet and maize, from which they make bread and porridge and brew beer. Perhaps unknowingly in some cases, they are wasteful of their homeland's natural resources. They mercilessly rob the trees of every leafy branch in order to feed their cattle at a time when all the grass has dried up. The Gurungs keep large flocks of sheep for wool and meat. In the winter, these flocks remain in the lower valleys, where they graze on the rice stubble. But when spring comes, the shepherds move with them to the higher pastures. These men live for months in the high mountains, their only homes being simple shelters of cloth spread over bamboo frames. On feast days, all the people congregate in the villages. During 1 month of the year, a strange ritual takes place when parties of girls work themselves up into a religious trance. They are then believed to be possessed by a spirit, a goddess. this way, the supernatural becomes part of everyday life, and the gods and goddesses of Nepal make their presence felt in the remotest villages to the simplest of people. A feast follows the dance. It is served in the open on a stone-paved terrace. Men who have dined for years in a regimental mess, who've tried Chinese food in Hong Kong and drunk wine in Italian restaurants, now sit happily on the floor and enjoy a simple meal of rice and heavily spiced sauce. They have known the world of the machine age, but they return quite contentedly to the simple, hard life of hill peasants. What a Gurkha soldier has learned during his service in the British Army, he cannot employ in his home. He may have been a lorry driver, but in a country without roads or any source of power, his mechanical knowledge is useless. Yet these veterans return to their mountain homes without becoming misfits. They seldom attain, or even appear to wish for, positions of real leadership. From the hill villages of the Gurungs, within sight of the lofty Annapurna range, the expedition turns east towards Kathmandu. As one approaches Nepal's capital, foot traffic increases. Thousands of porters carrying foodstuffs and live poultry converge on the city. In the late morning, Heimendorf and his party stop to cook a meal which must sustain them until evening. In 3 days' time, they will reach the great town of Kathmandu. The valley enclosing Kathmandu has been a center of urban civilizations for well over 1,000 years. Most of the inhabitants are neighbors, a race of town dwellers utterly different from the rustic hillmen. They have produced great artists and craftsmen, and the town is dotted with sculptures of gods, of men, and of beasts. Trade flourishes in the crowded bazaars, which for many centuries have been meeting places for the Nepalese, Indians, and Tibetans. In recent years, radio and cinema have also brought Western influences to Kathmandu. The genius of the neighbors, a gay, artistic, and excitable people, expresses itself best in the great festivals in honor of their gods. These feasts reach a climax in multitudinous processions when the images of gods are carried from square to square under ornate umbrellas, and idols inhabiting separate temples are made to meet, surrounded by surging crowds of worshippers. Under each twirling umbrella is the precious gilt image of a god carried on the shoulders of worshippers who are whipped into a trance-like frenzy by the beating of drums and the mad shouting of the multitude. Most of the spectators are women. No woman dares to mingle with a throng of excited men, but all the girls want to watch. The gods involved in this turmoil are Hindu deities. More than half of the neighbors profess the Hindu religion. The others are Buddhists, but they too join in the excitement of the Hindu festivals and pay homage to the great Hindu gods of the Kathmandu Valley. In contrast, the Buddhist temples rise in serene isolation above the noise and bustle of Kathmandu. Statues of the Buddha Sakyamuni, shaded by ancient trees, flank the approaches leading to the great sanctuary of Swayambhu. Eyes painted in black, red, and white on the pinnacle of the shrine look down upon the stream of pilgrims coming from distant valleys on Nepal's northern border. Many are ragged figures, but all are eager to acquire religious merit by turning the metal prayer wheels and walking at least 3 times around the great shrine. A Neva priest with a silver tray places offerings of rice and coconut into a niche of the shrine. And this is the moment one of the sacred monkeys has been waiting for. Two Buddhist deities watch, indifferent to the monkey's theft. Pilgrims from the high regions of eastern Nepal leave the great sanctuary, and the expedition too sets out on a long trek towards the east, with Darjeeling in India as its objective, still months of marching away. 20 porters carry equipment, tents, and basic provisions. At the end of a day's march, the tents are pitched near a village. It's a settlement of the Tamang tribe of hillmen, lying 3 days' journey east of Kathmandu. The well-built houses, painted white and apricot, are not huddled together, but separated by their owners' fields. At the foot of a small hill stands a Buddhist temple, and prayer flags flutter in front of people's houses. Sheaves of maize hang under the eaves to dry. Men gather to gossip beneath a holy flag with Buddhist prayers printed on it. The village is the home of several artists, and an old lama explains the meaning of one of the religious paintings. Even small boys learn to decorate drums in bright colors. In the middle ranges of Nepal's eastern hills, each day means long climbs and steep descents, for the east-west route cuts across every river and many a mountain range. Villages are tiny and far between, but now and then the travelers pass a small temple. Here, a solitary shrine, rather neglected, offers refreshment to the thirsty porters. Exquisite stone carvings adorn its walls. Who carved them? There's no one to ask. A few days pass. Slowly, the vegetation changes as the expedition reaches a region lying above 8,000 feet. There are forests of pine and rhododendron, ranging in color from near white to deep rose. The ground is studded with mauve primulas. Patches of snow linger in shady hollows higher up, where the shrub rhododendrons are not yet in flower. One of the porters samples the cool snow. Mrs. Heimendorf has been on many similar expeditions and finds little difficulty in marching at 12,000 feet. Through dense pine and rhododendron forest,